So about our topic, I'm sure some of our audience may not be familiar with the concept. Could you quickly introduce what is a build-to-suit warehouse?
The build-to-suit buildings is a commercial building constructed by the landlord based on the client's special specification. The landlord still doing what they always do as a landlord. They have to secure the financial for the land acquisition, for the design, for all the licensing, and the construction. And then they hand over the building to the client at their special specification. The tenants only have to pay the rental after they move in.
So how much of the demand for build-to-suit warehouse in the market is driven by e-commerce related tenant, or is it just varies a lot?
Many types of sectors can have their own requirements for the warehouse. But then e-commerce is the rising star of this business. So in this recent year, actually we received a lot of inquiries for the build-to-suit facility from the e-commerce guy, because this e-commerce guy they receive a lot of investment in order to grow and in order to gain the market share. In the competition, they will spend the big amount of the investment for the optimization of logistic operation to minimize the delivery cost and to speed up the delivery time, which is a very key factor in this competition. In order to do that, the warehouse location and the warehouse design must be facilitated enough for them to grow and to process hundreds, thousands to millions parcel per day, and not many existing facilities in this market can be suitable for this type of demand.
This reminds me of my favorite story that Mr. Nelson from Basking Vietnam has mentioned, that when he first came into Vietnam, he met with several brokers and developers and stated his demand for a build-to-suit space. But to his surprise, most of the developers refused for partnering, except for BW, which we all know. So I was wondering, what is the real reason that a developer refused such a real and significant demand?
Well, it's all the matter of risks. I have to say that it's not only the e-commerce, but other business too. If client requests for a build-to-suit projects, it means that the facility has to contain the special specification which requires from which serve only the individual users. Sometimes the landlord has to pay higher construction costs for those kind of specification, and is sometimes, in most of the cases, those kind of specification is make the difficult for the leasing after the tenants left. Because you know that a build-to-suit project, it may last for 5 to 10 years. What happened after they leave the warehouse, and even in the worst case, in the unwanted early termination circumstance. Of course, we all can minimize the risk in the contract terms. However, for this kind of game, we advise that this game is only for the developer, the players who have enough experience and resources to deal with all kinds of risks. And yet we haven't mentioned to the timing of the delivery of the project.
It's interesting to know about the risk that a developer may bear when developing a build-to-suit project. So you just mentioned about timing. How about timing? I know that when people talk about build-to-suit, there's no specific timing, right? But is there a specific timeline for any certain step within the whole, development process?
All of the clients, when they come to order a build-to-suit projects, they always say that I need the building as soon as possible. To the developer, we also need to deliver the facility as soon as possible, because we already paid for everything in advance and we need to collect the rent as soon as possible so that we can have revenue. However, the terms of as soon as possible between the landlord and the tenants may differ. In order to do that, it depends on many criteria, for example, on the project scale, on the land status, on the legal due diligence of a specific land plot, or in specific projects, the design, the construction timeline, and one of the key important things is the pre-construction licensing period. For the construction timeline, for the construction period, we can control we can control the design and the construction period. Somehow we can control the land acquisition process or legal DD. However, on the licensing, it is not in our hand, fully in our hand to control the timeline. We can have the estimated timeline for the process, but it varies from the project scale. If the project classifies as the grade 1, the project has to seek the approval from the central government. Right. So it may take longer time before the expected handover timeline.
So from your point of view, what is the best possible workflow to balance between tenant demand and maintaining a sustainable portfolio for the company?
We always focus to build the cold shell of the projects so that we can focus on our core business, and it helps us to execute the project short and sweet. After many years of experience, we have established the standard workflow so that leasing, business development, legal, construction department, and financial department can have an open discussion, understand each other. We have to maintain the conversation with the external stakeholders such as the general contractor or the local authority to make sure that the things that our hand will be controlled in the good hand, to make sure that we deliver the project on time.
Basically, our audience has some good idea about what is a build to suit, what are the key challenges, how can we help and support our tenant. It has been very helpful, Ngọc. Thanks for joining.
Really appreciate it.
And thanks everybody for tuning in. In the next 2 weeks, we would have Minh Nguyễn on manufacturing in Vietnam, assumptions and reality. In the meantime, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact us. Thanks again for watching, and we see you all next time. Bye bye.